So the match graphics show Dave Bento and Dan Severn making it to the finals. And then we have, oh boy, the super fight champion, Royce Gracie versus Ken Wayne Shamrock, which shows the match graphics for the super fight on top of the octagon for UFC Ultimate Fighting Champion 5. So, guys, when I said that Dan Severn and the Russian Bear fight was the longest fight on the show at 4 minutes and 21 seconds, the longest fight to go almost 5 minutes, well, guys, the reason I did not want to review this event or even review UFC 5 was because of this fight. Guys, this is the worst I've ever watched in my career, and I regretted so much that I did not want to watch any of this. Never in a million years, I never want to watch this. Guys, when I look back at this, and I'm like, Jesus, this is so bad. So for the last 18 months, becoming the most well-known fighter of all time, as the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu has done so much, Ken Shamrock enters the ring in the octagon from Rockford, California, from the Sacramento area. His third UFC and one did not continue, is what the commentators pointed out. As a shoe fighting champion and so much to show for, enters the ring wearing a black a black robe or black boxing gear or something with a white towel around his neck. And they do call him Wayne Shamrock. Record of a 13-2 fighter, of a shoe fighting champion, a pancrase shooting champion, 13-2, with his opponent before him is in the octagon to settle out to score. But Ken Shamrock has other plans for winning, and it's boredom. So after a year and a half for this, he is not going to lose, but sadly, I don't think he's planning on winning this fight, even though he did said, "I'm here to win." So this is the biggest draw in fighting here. They're both going for the inaugural World title for UFC. And then the most dangerous man, Royce Gracie's. The Gracie train is back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final time we'll ever see the Gracie train here again. Royce Gracie is the only person with his head on his back, holding his arms next to his other trainers, and another one behind him is massaging him. They are on the Gracie train, guys. I don't know what to say. Royce Gracie, 51-1 as an amateur, and mostly as a 3-time winner of the UFC Ultimate Fighting Champion. Also in heavyweight Juke Jiu-Jitsu champion. They also point out last year, or a few months in November, stated that he was on his back for 15 straight minutes against Dan Severn and came out with one of the greatest wins. And at this moment, guys, that win was one of the greatest. Even though 15 minutes is a really long time, you got to give credit for what Gracie put in those techniques in the show. And guys, if there was anything I had to say about this match, if there was other stuff out there that was good or bad, well, technically, that would take me a long time to know about the positives about this match and the negatives, because there's more negatives than there is, in my opinion, just because this match is 36 minutes long. And like I said before, guys, there is no judges and there is no scores for anything. And I wish I wish they also had to make up a rule here, because it was like, I wish they came up with a rule with telling them, okay, the referee will judge who the winner is. Or they should have done something to know who the winner was. So yeah, they point out UFC 3-time champion Gracie, the only man who have fought in 4 fighting events, and this would sadly be his second to last in history. 4th degree Dan black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's never been defeated in the octagon, but man, oh man, it's going to be dumb. So he points out he's from Rio de Janeiro again, and tonight I'm going to fight one man that won't be any problem. I beat him before, and I'll beat him again. Good luck. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. So shoe fighting champion versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And Ken Shamrock as 31 years old with Royce Gracie at 29 years old. Their heights are around 6'1" and 6 foot. Gracie taller than him, but 205-pound Ken Shamrock with a 180-pound Royce Gracie. So that's all you have to know. And yet again, guys, Gracie with black belt on, strapped with a white black robe and such, a white robe with black belt. And of course, announcer announces the fighters of the show, and they announced everyone else. They announced the referee, Big John McCarthy, is the referee of this fight. If you don't know that before, because he's refereed every single fight, except the alternate bouts. And they say at this moment, we just welcome Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie. Royce Gracie has a mouthpiece, just like the guy that's like Jimmy Smith, the guy that became the boxer that got knocked out from having his weird techniques of throwing punches in the famous line of "I fall and I can't get up" by one of the commentators. Yeah, how many people remember that fight by that boxer named Jimmy Smith, the man that was holding his mouthpiece like this? Like, the guy was holding his mouthpiece, like, right here, just biting onto it before the corner, and the referee telling both guys the instructions to know this or that. Oh, okay, fight, come queen, and this or that. Like Ken Shamrock is biting onto his mouthpiece similar than Jimmy Smith, which is kind of ridiculous when you look at it. But then on the other corner, guys, a guy with a record of 51 wins and 1 defeat as an amateur, 11-1 as a pro, as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. Not as an MMA fighter, but Jiu-Jitsu. Please welcome the 3-time world UFC champion and now fighting for the real title, Royce Gracie. So the commentators pointed out it's going to be a 30-minute time limit, and we're going to have a combined purse of $50,000. Also, we'll have another $50,000 for the tournament winner and the number 1 ranked. So that will be whether that's true or not. The third man with McCarthy in the ring with Wayne Shamrock and Gracie, their first ever super fight champion, and God almighty, this is great. Guys, I don't know what to say about this fight. Both guys study each other in the first minute of the fight. So, guys, I'm just going to go through each 5 minutes and just to tell you people what's been done for. So 30 seconds of the fight, and before you know it, they both study each other. And then Gracie gets a big miss kick there. By the way, Ken Shamrock is wearing black underwear, by the way. And then takes him down, and Gracie trying to lock him up, this or that. And now he's on top of Gracie. And at this moment, now they're in the grabbing. They are putting themselves in the guard. And, of course, the commentators pointed out the guard and other moments. And, mostly here. They point out the longest bout in history, which is going to change soon. With 15-plus minutes, they point out about the Dan Severn fight again. And 1 minute into the fight, it's already becoming a doozy of a fight here. They both study each other as just having Shamrock being on top of Gracie and Gracie's legs wrapping around Shamrock's back as usual. And this is just the worst. They show a box screen picture of Royce Gracie's father's perspective outside of the ring watching, and then they show another guy's perspective, which is Shamrock's perspective outside of the ring. Yeah, they're going to regret being there for a long time, because at this moment we get big kicks and Gracie throws out a 20-punch combination of using his knee to hit the ribs of Shamrock at the 2-minute mark. And yeah, to be honest, guys, the entire moment of the fight is just Shamrock on top of Gracie and Gracie trying to smother him. And then he gives him another 10-punch combination with his right foot, knee again. And man, this is just... I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. So Gracie is Gracie is the bottom for the entirety of this match. That's all I can say. He tries to throw knees. He tries to grab, wrestle. They both hug. Both guys are hugging each other, pointing their faces to each other and such, and their hands to their faces. Like, oh boy, the COVID is already coming sooner than you think. The 5-minute mark, they're already there, and also the commentators also pointed out at the 5-minute mark, because as they go to the 5-minute mark of the fight, because the commentator stated that we are 5 minutes into this bout, and they have a 30-minute time limit. And if they finish the 30 minutes, it will be a draw. That's what we thought. But of course, for some reason, they would decide to give us another 5 more minutes. When in reality, the fight was not 30 minutes, it was 31 minutes. And they gave us another 5 more minutes, making it 36 straight minutes. Which means that if MMA or UFC ever does give us like 7 rounds, they ever do a 7-round world title bout for 7 rounds, times that by 5 minutes, that's still 35 minutes, meaning that this record that we're watching here is already going to be broken for the entire century of this world until UFC, when UFC sinks in the future. So at this moment, around, I would say like the 7-minute mark, I would say. Probably the 7-minute mark, I would say. Both guys, again, Shamrock is finally trying to push Gracie to another ring and rope and this or that. And then finally they try to go for a grab here. Gracie tries to let go and Shamrock doesn't want to let go. And he finally lets go, pushes and kicks him. But Shamrock goes back down and puts him back himself on top again. And again, Gracie again. Like, Gracie's trying to escape the move at this moment. It just seems like after what happened to Gracie in UFC 3, it seems like he's taking things more calm than he did in UFC 4. Don't get me wrong, he put in good efforts in UFC 4. And then we come to the 8-minute mark where they're still on the hole. They're still on top of each other the entire time. At this moment, of course, later in the match, like, with everything going on, like, that's all we would get. The entirety of the match, they're on top. Sometimes Gracie would not have him as much. Like, at the 10-minute mark, his legs are spread away, and sometimes they're not wrapped around him, and sometimes you would have some punches once in a while and slaps for each other, but that's about it. And even around the time of the fight, like, the crowd starts booing, and at this moment, it's like, oh, we just want the fight to end. And with everything going on, and so at this moment, it's just like the submission holds. Like, with everything going on right now, like, every single minute going by is already bad enough that it is. And like, being underneath Royce Gracie at this moment is like, yeah, it's just, it was just so bad that it was hard for me to even, like, I just don't know what to say about this, because, like, Ken Shamrock is on top of Gracie the whole time, and there's times that Gracie would use his right foot to bash Ken Shamrock's ribs or his back a lot of the fight as well. That's all you get. That's the only thing you get for this entire fight. It's just, that's about it. So it's like no matter what you see, and at this moment, that's the only thing you would see of this fight. And so at this moment, they already passed the 15-minute and 49-second mark of Gracie in the Severn fight. The draw is getting closer than ever, and now the commentators are pointing out this is now the longest fight as of right now. They're past the halfway mark, and they might be showing little signs of fatigue, if mostly because at this moment, yeah, they're both tired, and that might cause anything else. And they also pointed out that still to come, Dave Bento and Dan Severn will be serving a sever, will be in the main draw for the finals. And at this moment, even though Dan Severn was the final person before this fight happened, so of course he has to relax and stay in shape because he needs to. They need to make sure that he's okay, or Dave Bento is okay. So I'm sure those guys are both now finally relaxed because there's actually a friggin' 36-minute fight happening as we're speaking, and it's not going to be good. So, of course, you can't say much about that. So we come to the 17-minute mark of the fight, and the commentators finally pointed out, with the endurance of this entire two guys of the fight, with early boos have already been stopped. At this moment, wait, guys, the crowd is already in boredom. It's like, someone end the fight or just pull out something here, because at this moment, like, all they're doing is grabbing holds on each other, with Shamrock being on top of Gracie the whole entire time. Like, it's like Shamrock does not want to win this fight, or he even does nothing. Like, that's how bad this was. And for some reason, it just seems like nothing was going to come their way. It's like no matter what they were doing, they were just not doing nothing offensively. Like, guys, the problem was, guys, even Devin Haney and his last fight in Times Square last month ago was not an entertaining fight, but the problem is I just have problems believing that what these guys are doing is just not. I just don't get it. Like, we're at the 20-minute mark where we're getting a little bit of left hands and right elbows here or there, but yet again, and of course, Gracie puts more of his stomping on his right foot again and again and again, but yet again, like, it just seems like that there was just so much problems in this fight. Like, guys, people can call this one of the worst fights, but I just don't know what to say about this fight. It's just that there's just so much problems for everything. Eventually, there was a moment at 21 minutes before the 22-minute mark where Gracie tried to put his legs higher to try to wrap his legs around Shamrock's neck, but that was a fail. Mostly, there was more moments in time where anyone would have made one flawless mistake, but that guy still had fatigue and they weren't ready for their counterattack because they were already getting tired, smothering each other. Around that 22-minute, 23-minute mark, these guys are now throwing punches, grabbing their hair. Well, Royce Gracie doing the most of it, grabbing his hair. But there's times that even though Gracie tried to use his jacket, his white karate suit, to hold himself from not letting go of the grip while hugging Ken Shamrock's neck, pretty much. And at the 23-minute mark, the early update, so at 23 minutes of the fight, the commentators pointed out that the Russian Bear has stitches on his forehead, which is good news, stating that they're working on Takhtarov's injured face against his fight against Dan Severn. As they, as said before, there was actually blood in the ring at the time. But the news is he's doing all right, even though he has stitches in the fight as they speak. So they point that out, that he's doing okay. while there's still like less than over 6 more minutes left of the fight. So they pointed out that the Russian Bear is doing fine. And we keep moving on straight into the 24-minute and the 25-minute mark as well. And now the commentators pointed out with only 25 minutes of the fight, 5 minutes left to go for this super fight champion. Grace is chopping everything else he's doing some little slaps here or there, which the commentators pointed out. Again, like the crowd is in disbelief that this is actually reality. This is turning into a boring snooze fest. I just don't get it. There's so much like it's like both guys are so calm that they don't want to commit an error. Like the commentators pointed out that the 26-minute mark, like, will anyone commit an error? At this moment, it seems like they don't want to make that mistake. But Ken Shamrock has been on top of Gracie the entire time before the first minute of the fight started. They even talk about Elio Gracie when he was 13 years old in 1977 as the elder, talking about his career and time in the sport. But at this moment, the crowd, like 6,000 fans did not come to see this type of competition. Like the crowd at the Independence Arena in Charlotte did not want to see something like this again. This was not a fight to be reckoned with as remembered. Like, they're still putting on grappling holds here or there. And I'm sure, in my opinion, Gracie, in my opinion, is doing most of the work here because he's throwing knees, he's throwing strikes with his right foot. Like, I'm sure, in my opinion, guys, if I was the referee and the rule is that the referee is the one to judge this fight, I would say that Gracie would have won this fight in 30 minutes. I wish they should have done that before. I wish they would have came up with that rule before this show started, because with so many crowd and booing and with 1 minute left of the fight, they're ending to a draw and the fans know that. And it's like, yeah. And Gracie is finally getting, like, he's finally has Ken Shamrock stuck and such. And at this moment, Gracie is putting in more offensive work than anything else, even though he's been the bottom for the entirety of the half an hour fight with Ken Shamrock. And with 10 seconds left of the fight, with everything going on, they continue with the fight. And the commentators pointed out that no one has stopped the fight. And the clock continues to run for another minute. And the commentators point out that this is interesting because, like, there is a time limit, but nothing has happened, and now they're realizing that something's up. Like, did someone forgot to change the time, or did someone forgot to put the clock in for one more minute or so? Because they would fight for another minute. And then until the 31-minute mark comes, we finally get the stop at that moment, and John McCarthy stops him at 31 minutes and 6 seconds of the fight. So for some reason, someone forgot, I guess. Gracie finally gets back up, and John McCarthy in corner, and they go forward a little bit. He helps out Gracie to strap out his belt to get his suit back underway, and I'm sure Gracie's father is now disappointed in him. And then, for some reason, for the super fight overtime, they give him an overtime for 5 more minutes. And they only get 1 minute break for all of that, to go back to the ring one more time for 5 more minutes. And man, oh man. So again, Gracie is stunning himself, throws right, throws left. He goes for a kick, grabs, and then finally he goes down again. And again, Shamrock is now on top of Gracie and finally puts the hold again for 20, not even 30 seconds. Not even 30 seconds. We get some headbutts from both guys, and now we have Gracie with a little bit of problems here, but now Shamrock is trying to headbutt him. We get some gash above the right eye of Gracie's eye. At this moment, Shamrock is trying to end it. he throws headbutts after headbutts after headbutts, and Gracie is trying to hurt him back as well. And you can tell that he is. I think you can tell that Shamrock is tired of this. He wants, like, it took him over 31 minutes to finally realize, you know what? I should have done this a long time ago. Maybe he should have headbutted him a long time ago. At this moment, so Gracie finally is getting blood for the first time. We're at 2 minutes, and finally he's in the grab, and Shamrock is now throwing right punches to his temple right here. And at this moment, there's no way nothing is going well for them. Like Gracie's eye is swollen, getting the grab, and Gracie is now the bottom again as before. And both guys are in the mounted position, if that makes sense for you viewers. I don't say mounted position as much, and I don't know the key words for all of these type of things in the world of sports. Like I keep forgetting that this should be a right hook, or people call this, like, I know what a jab is, but I keep forgetting what a right cross is, or a left cross is, or what a hook is. I know what an uppercut is, or a looping. Like, those words are hard for me to even comprehend when I talk about this stuff. So don't get confused when I say the top, all right? But yeah, at the 4-minute mark, again, they're both now wrestling each other, trying to get themselves back on their feet. But yet again, they're not going to go back on their feet. Like at this moment, Shamrock and Gracie, I will say though, the last 5 minutes of the fight were pretty entertaining. I'll give them that. The last 5 minutes of the fight was entertaining, but it was all for nothing. Like, Shamrock being the aggressor at this moment, more than Gracie was in 30 minutes, they pull themselves forward for everything else as best they can. But it was all for nothing. And at this moment, the camera cuts at the 5-minute mark, showing Gracie having blood right here to above his nose, a gash of blood coming from here to these eyelid right here. So with blood squirt right here, bottom here a little bit, and a lot of it right down here, drizzling with his blood right here as well onto his nostril, he's getting more blood than anything else. They cut to the 5-minute mark, and for some reason, John McCarthy stops the fight, and that's it. The fight ends in a draw. Yeah, and at this moment, the crowd in the background are not even applauding for this. Like, no one's the winner. Like, both guys hug each other, but even though it did stake, the commentators did point out there's lots of people clapping, and there's a lot of boos and claps, and calling this match a greasy mess, which is, I can't say much about that, but yeah. And then, of course, yeah, as said, they point out that the crowd doesn't like it, and I don't like it. And as said before, they check both of the eyelids, and Shamrock is walking around circles, saying that he's the winner, parading in the ring, raising his arms in victory. But of course, the commentators said there is no victory, and yeah, no wonder this was the end of the Gracie regime here. This was the end of everything for Royce Gracie and UFC. Guys, if there was a moment that Royce Gracie was the top at some times in this fight, we would have seen other stuff instead. Commentators pointed out 36 minutes and 6 seconds was the time of this fight. And the bout ends in a draw. So yeah, people calling this a discrimination with Shamrock and I say what you want to about this, but they do show us replay of the last minutes of the fight and the start of it. But yeah, I really can't like this fight anymore because, like, at this moment, no one understands. Like, they already point out the heart of the warrior, and how both of these guys are champions, but no one won. That's the problem. Such a huge waste of time, and I hate every bit of this. Like, Gracie leaves the ring first with everything in disappointment. The last time he'll be in UFC for a long time. Ken is hugging friends and such, putting back his robe, and they go back to the bracket where they show us the replays, the brackets of the tournament bracket, this or that, to quarterfinals, and then they show us the championship fight of the semifinals and the finals for the final two guys, and that's where we lead to the final.